All Isekai is about generic, overpowered characters surrounded by a harem of women. It's just not true! Hi, I'm Caketinz and I am a certified Isekai enthusiast. For the month of June, I have decided that I am going to try and spread the love, the joy, and not knock over my manga of Isekai. I know a lot of people really like to hate on the genre. Sometimes I do think it deserves it. Sometimes I feel like it's got a reputation now that people just don't want to touch it because of its reputation, and I think you're just missing out on such amazing, wonderful series because of that. So I'm here to try and spread awareness about different types of Isekai that you may not be aware of, or you may not have tried yourself, don't know. So every week for the month of June, I am going to be talking about a different type of Isekai, and today's theme is Villainess. Now, Villainess is probably become one of my favourite genres. Is it a genre or a subgenre? It's a subgenre. I was going to say it's a subgenre of Isekai, but there are Villainess series that aren't Isekai, and Isekai itself is a subgenre of fantasy. Is it a subgenre? I'm saying the word sub too much. Regardless, Villainess has become something I've really enjoyed the past couple of years. So I'm really excited that that is the first time for Isekai that I am going to be talking about for Isekai month. Woo! If you aren't already aware, for every video I put out for Isekai month, one of the volumes I talk about, I will be giving away. Wee! Woo! Wee woo. You will find out which one it is when I get to it though. So every video will have a volume giveaway, and I will close all of the giveaways mid-July time to give chance for like that final one. And then I will announce the winners for all 5 video volume giveaways mid-July. And if you haven't already, don't forget to give this video a like, comment down below your thoughts on Villainous Isekai, and also be sure to subscribe because this is only the first of a series of multiple Isekai month videos. So definitely subscribe so you are alerted when I post all of the rest. And if you're interested in early access to my videos, check out my channel members, where I post videos for you as soon as I have finished editing. I often edit in like a binge and I do a few a week and then stop for a little bit. I have quite a few videos up there at the moment. I think I have like 5 at the moment, and I'm halfway through editing another one. And I have another 3 to film. I'm definitely filming more videos than there are Fridays. Without further ado, let's talk some Isekai. As you might be able to see, I'm not sure if it's caught on the camera, I have some nice juicy stacks of Villainess Isekai to talk about with you. And the first series I want to talk about is My Next Life as a Villainess, All Routes Lead to Doom. Now this is like, is it like the OG Villainess Isekai? I think for a lot of people this was like their introduction to Villainess Isekai. It was one of the very first ones I saw printed in English, and also one of the very first animes I think I saw. I think it's kind of like set a trend. Oh, and I realized I didn't say, when I am talking about my Isekai recommendations, these are all going to be physical English prints. I know there's a lot more stuff that are digital only. I'm not talking about that because I don't read digital and I don't have any intention to, so I have no idea when it comes to those. I'm going to be talking just about stuff that is printed physically in English. So the very common trope of a Villainess Isekai is someone on Earth is isekai'd into an Otome game that they had played when they were alive. They're isekai'd into the Villainess, and they're like, I know I'm the Villainess and I know everyone hates me. What can I do to make sure people don't hate me, or make sure I don't end up going down bad routes? If you're unfamiliar with Otome games tend to be kind of like, they're like dating, well, they are dating sim games where they're kind of just sort of like a, what's the word? It's kind of like a choose your own adventure. You get text and you read the text, then you're often given options and you kind of given routes, and a route follows often you romancing a different character, and there's a selection of characters and you can go down different routes, and depending on how you respond or things that you say will change what sort of ending you might get. You might get a great ending, a good ending, an average ending, or a bad ending. All completely depends on the game. completely. I have played, I think, 2, maybe 3. It depends on my mood. I can get really fixated on them, but sometimes I can find them a bit boring because you are just reading a lot of text generally. Not all of them, but the ones I've played so far and some of the other more popular ones I know of, you generally just read text. They can be really fun, and you can go romance anime characters and stuff, but generally that's kind of the whole premise. And quite often in these villainess isekais, the villainesses don't generally have great endings. So when our main character has been isekai'd into the body of, what's her name again? Katarina Clays, she is like, okay, well, I've played the game, what happens to her? And depending on the route that she goes down, either, I think the best option is she's banished, and then the worst option is... So when she, as Katarina, recalls her memories as like a 10-year-old, she's like playing out in the garden, she falls over, bangs her head, and she's like, I remember. And then she starts to sort of plan to make sure that she'll be okay later in life regardless. So she sort of plans out 2 different things. She's like, okay, if I get banished, I'm going to need some form of way to be able to continue looking after myself, to make a living. Because she's kind of a spoilt daughter of a duke. She's a daughter of a duke. So she's nobility-ish, high noble class. So she's like, I need some skills. So she decides to take up gardening, like quite industrial, heavy gardening. She's growing like vegetables and stuff. And everyone gets very confused. And then she's like, okay, well, in the bad ending, this character is the one that kills me. I need to go and find out their fears. And she's like, learns that he's like scared of snakes, so starts practicing making fake rubber snakes and then like test them by throwing out at him and see if he can tell if they're real or not. Overall, it is just a quite sweet Villainess isekai. It's definitely a good one to start with. There isn't overly high stakes. It's quite calm. She's completely oblivious that because she's a nice person now, everyone really likes her. Like, everyone really likes her. Everyone really likes her, and she is completely oblivious to the whole thing. But it is super lovely. So in English, there are currently 7 volumes. 7 volumes currently out in English. I'm not sure if 8. Not sure when 8 is out. It doesn't release too often. I find, unfortunately, isekai series are either they release monthly or they release yearly, and there isn't much in between. Sometimes it's even every other year. I mean, I've had a few isekai volumes where I'm like, I haven't read... the last volume came out 2021. What happened? So that is the main series, 1 to 7. We also have a side series, My Next Life as Villainess side story on the Verge of Doom, which is complete at 3 volumes. So the difference between this and the main series is, in the main series, she regains her memories of her past life when she's a child, about 10, whereas in this one, she regains her memories like almost as it's too late. She's already a teenager. The events of the Otome game that she played in her past life have already begun. She's already got that like villainous tendency. People are already put off by her. She's on the verge of doom. That's the title, yeah. So she's got a little less time to try and put things right, basically. And it's only 3 volumes long, though I'm starting to question, did I read volume 3? I did not read volume 3. Well, that is one that I will be wrapping up during Isekai month. And then we also have My Next Life as a Villainess Girls Patch, which is a series of side stories by a whole variety of artists. Don't ask me who they are though, I have absolutely no idea. I'm terrible at being able to tie names to between series on stuff like that. This is a one-shot, it's on its own, and it's just a series of short stories. Another one I haven't yet read. I actually managed to get this one secondhand, I think. Can be a bit pricey because it's all published by 7 Seas, and 7 Seas prices have gone crazy recently, and it's also a bigger volume compared to the other ones, so it's often like $13.99. It does pop up on World of Books though, so if you're in the UK and you're interested, check World of Books, because I'm fairly sure there were copies when I looked earlier today. And also check the Dudettes Discord server out if you want to see how you can get like 40-50% off in codes. There is an anime, as I've said previously. There is also a light novel, which is what this is based off, that is currently ongoing. Also, the light novel is published by J Novel Club, whereas the manga is published by Seven Seas. It's still quite common. J Novel Club only really started physically printing manga within the last few years, and even still they don't publish too much. It is quite common that you'll see light novels published by J Novel Club and then manga published by Seven Seas. I'm trying to think, has there been any J Novel Club that Yen Press have picked up? I don't think so. I have currently given My Next Life as Villainess a 7.86 out of 10 by averaging all of my ratings, and also The Verge of Doom is on an 8 out of 10. So that's the first one. I thought I would talk way quicker than that. I have been talking about this series for like 10 minutes. I hope it doesn't go on this long for all of them. Our next Villainess Isekai is Cross-Dressing Villainess Cecillia Slyvie. This currently has 3 volumes published in English, with 4 being on the way, I think at the end of June actually. Either way, I have it on pre-order. I must say, when I read volume 1, I was like, it is a fun Villainess. I like it. It's Villainess. It's great. And then by the time I got to volume 3, oh my god, I gave this volume 10 out of 10. It was amazing. Everything I want out of a manga volume. I don't think you can see my cat, but she is like right here. At least she settled down. She was trying to chew the manga earlier. In Cross-Dressing Villainess Cecillia Slyvie, she has regained her memories, as often happens as a child. Once again, in a dating sim that she played while she was on Earth. Except I believe in this one, no matter what happens, her character would experience a bad ending. There were no like banishments, I don't think. It was not going to be good regardless. So of course her solution to like bypass this was, instead of attending school as Cecillia Slyvie, she attended school as Cecil, as a dude. Put on a wig and be a guy. Is her solution. If they find out I'm a girl, I'm toast. All I want is a peaceful, drama-free life. Maybe in this manga adaptation, I can take it easy. Oh, I don't think so. Pretty much, it kind of has quite a similar setup to My Next Life as Villainess. She's been reborn in an Otome game. She regains her memories as a child. Just her decision to bypass it is pretend to be a boy. Again, as happens again and again with these series, because she's been reborn and she's just sort of a nicer person, people like them anyway. They don't really need to do much, but they don't realise that. They're so fixated on avoiding bad endings, they just don't realise. Also in this one, she explains the situation to her younger brother, so like he understands like the fact that she's been reborn into a game and she knows what's gonna happen. And so he kind of understands, and he just wants to protect her as like a little brother, big sister kind of deal. As is the case usually with Otome games, when you play the game, you play as the main character, usually some form of heavenly maiden, holy maiden sort of deal. Often they're kind of a side extra character in the Villainess series, and I am obsessed with the main character from the game in this series. I absolutely adore her. Yes, I love her. I was going, spoilers, please read this, I love it so much. Like, with reading more, I've loved it more and more with every volume. Definitely, I'd say one of my more favourite Villainess titles, definitely. As I said, 3 volumes in English, 5 currently in Japan, and the series is ongoing. Also has a light novel, and I have bought Ben some secondhand. He doesn't have volume 1 yet because I've not found it, but I just think it's interesting sometimes to compare the covers between the manga and the light novel version, because sometimes they're really similar and sometimes they're really different. So currently I am giving this series a 9 out of 10 on average. If I average all of my ratings for the volumes I've read so far, really do enjoy it. Definitely a high recommendation for Villainous Isekai. Or everyone reads it and is like, this is awful, and then they question my taste. Next series we're going to talk about is Villainess and the Demon Knight, Volume 1. Now, before I get too much into this, I do want to say that this series is like red flag central. But I'm definitely of the mindset that just because I enjoy reading it doesn't mean I condone it. So one of the main reasons I wanted to include this one is because it is a steamship title. Woo! It is a plastic wrapped. It is smutty as hell. Also, just saying, of all the steamship titles that have come out, 2, potentially arguably 3 of them have been isekai. Just saying. Just saying. So once again, isekai'd into an Otome game, and would you believe the main character in this is also called Cecillia? Is it just a really common villainess name? Is it spelt the same? Yeah, it's spelt the same. She's been reborn as the Villainess, though I feel so far from the context and the story we've gotten so far, she hasn't really come across as Villainesses. I'm getting the feels that she's like painted as a villainess, but she's not actually a villainess, which I also still really like for reasons I will go into as I keep talking. So originally the character was engaged to the royal prince, or a prince of some variety. Basically, she is quite a good person and doesn't really do anything wrong, but the prince like smoozes around and stuff, and he meets someone who I think is meant to be like the main character from the Otome game, and through some weird convincing between like the prince and the prime minister's son and this other, like, basically the romanceable characters from the Otome game are convinced by this main character that she needs to be gotten rid of. Not like killed off or anything, just she's in the way, to make sure the prince annuls the engagement and make sure she's just not in the way anymore, which ends up with her having to work in a brothel. In walks the son of the Duke, this guy. Through a series of flashbacks, we are shown that through interactions as a child and growing up, he has become, I want to say he's fallen for her, but it's more obsessed. It is an obsessive kind of love, and he's like, I'll do anything to keep her safe and make her mine. The volume starts off with the two characters looking at each other in the brothel, basically, and he's shown up and she's like, are you my first customer? And he's like, yep, off we go. Cool. And then as they're kind of in the room and things start going, we keep getting flashbacks for all this backstory. All the red flags kind of come, I mean, there's the weird obsessive love, there's he kind of forces himself upon her. It's like she's in a brothel and she's been forced into a brothel. I still enjoyed it. As I said, just because I enjoy reading it doesn't mean I condone it. Two different things. Don't make me tap the sign. And then it's actually quite similar to something that happens in the other isekai steamship, I'll Never Be Your Crown Princess, where he like does something that like binds them in some way. I don't think we've been given too much more context. Basically, it was backstory whilst they were boning. So yeah, as I said, it's a plastic wrapped, it's a steamship title, lots of boobage, lots of questionable moments as they get into it. Be wary going into this one. If you're a steamship fan and you like your smut, go for it. If you like I'll Never Be Your Crown Princess, I would definitely say give it a go. I'd say the female character is definitely a bit more, not as much spirit as the one in Crown Princess, but they're in different situations as well. I believe in Japan there is only 2 volumes still, so I don't imagine we're going to get releases too quickly, unfortunately, in English, which is such a shame. When people ask me what was like my #1 excited release for 2023, I'd say this one, because otherwise I had no idea. I knew there was a Villainess isekai steamship coming, and like, I switched off for anything else. Really like the spine, I think that's really pretty. I hope we get multiple colours as well. Cannot lie, I gave it a 10 out of 10 because it's like everything I like. Next series is Dark History of the Reincarnated Villainess. And we currently have 7 volumes out in English, though 7 I literally unboxed about 2 days ago, so I've not yet read it. I am saving it for Isekai month now. What I think's most interesting about this series is she isn't isekai'd into an Otome game. Instead, we've been isekai'd into some sort of weird, dark, teenage angst fanfiction that she wrote about herself. It is almost an Otome game, except during her teenage years, our main character wrote like I think she called it like the dark history or her dark history or something like that, hence the title. She put herself in the role of, is she on a cover somewhere? She made herself this character, the one with the pink hair, and she'd like write stories of teenage angst, hormonal charged situations. Yeah, and she ends up being isekai'd into her own story as the bad guy. And she's isekai'd like at the moment the villainess is about to be, I think, put to death or executed. And she's like aggressively trying to get her way out of it. She does succeed, but then she's on like tender hooks because she is the bad guy. She hasn't, like a lot of the others, she hasn't been isekai'd young, so she's now got this history of being a terrible person. But also because these are her stories, she knows like things that are gonna go wrong, and she needs to try and avoid them. She wants to try and avoid death flags. She tries to avoid the main character, who is her sister. So the villainess and the main character, her sister. She tries to avoid her sister getting into trouble because she knows it'll just all tie back to her. Because technically, often it did, because she was a terrible person. So every arc is kind of another story that she had written around these characters, whether they go somewhere or they go to an event and then things happen. And she's at this event and she's like trying to remember, like, okay, what happened, and then like something happened and she's like, oh shit, yeah, that's what happened, okay, I need to go over here and stop this thing happening. And then like a main character will run into her and be like, what are you doing here? And she has to try and explain how she knew to be in the location. Yeah, so it's kind of got similar things to what I like about Villainess Isekai, which is the knowledge of what's going to happen from their previous life, just it's done in a different way. It's not through an Otome game, it's through this weird sexually charged fan fiction of her own making. I would say it isn't one of my favorite ones, but like when I say it's not one of my favorite ones, I still love it. It's still a fun isekai villainess read. It sometimes can be a bit cringy sometimes, but when there are nice dramatic moments, there was one I think in volume 2 where I kind of had to do it, like take a moment and be like, oh damn, I would say go into it with just expecting a little bit of cringe and cheese and you should be good. They do often pop up secondhand, I think. I sometimes especially have seen, I don't know what it is about it, I think volume 5 I keep seeing secondhand. I don't know, did they print a lot of volume 5? This one I don't think has a light novel. I couldn't find a light novel online, but do let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. I also don't think there is an anime, so the manga is the way to go for you. There is 10 volumes currently ongoing in Japan, and I am currently giving this a 7.33 out of 10 as an average across all the volumes that I have read. You wouldn't think we're making progress, but we are making progress. Also Villainess, because it's one of my favourite genres of isekai, probably I have the most series I want to talk about, though also I'm still not talking about every Villainess isekai in my collection because there's a lot. If I talked about every isekai I have hundreds of isekai, so over this month I won't be able to talk about all of them across every video. I'm going to talk about different isekai across different social medias, but so if you are like, why haven't you talked about this one? I've already talked about so many. I'm sorry, I can't do all of them. I'm trying my best. Run over. Next series, we have The Villainess Stands the Heroes, playing the antagonist to support her faves, volume 1. And do you know what? This is the volume I am giving away! Wahey! Woo! Yes, so actually this is a volume where Yen Press, in their most glorious, beautiful box that they sent me last month or the month before, there was a volume of this, and I did already own it because of course I did. It's a Villainess Isekai. So let me just tell you how you can win this before I go into a rant about the series. So if you are interested in winning this series, please make sure that you like the video and are subscribed to me, Caketinz, and then also leave a comment down below, and I would like you to say that you stan the Villainesses or stan Villainess, something to that degree. As long as you have like stan and Villainess in there, you're good. You're entered, as far as I'm concerned. Open internationally, and I will close it mid-July sometime and let you know if you have won. But yes, let me tell you about it first. Yes, I will win that, but I don't know what it's about. I'll be honest, I'm kind of like that. I'm like, oh, free, yes please. So, once again, reborn in an Otome game as the Villainess. However, instead of trying to avoid her death or bad outcome, bad outcomes or stuff like that. She decides what she needs to do is play her role perfectly. She needs to be the absolute perfect villainess that she can be in this world. And why would she do that? Basically, she adores all of the characters so much, and she feels that so much of the character development is based on the actions of the villainess doing terrible things. She doesn't want to potentially sacrifice what the characters are going to become, because she stands them. She doesn't want them to change. She wants them to become she wants them to become the people that she loves. So to make sure that that happens, she perfectly plays out the villainess, because she knows the game so well. She knows the exact thing she needs to do to perfectly replicate it. So you get like scenes where she's like doing the ho 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 villainess, and like you get the inner monologue and she's like squealing with glow sticks like, oh my god, he's so cute, she's so cute, oh my god. She seems to stan every single character. I think that isn't a character we've really come across where she doesn't obsess over them. However, there is one character she didn't do that with. There is a character that has sort of a traumatic childhood. He's sort of, I think, is he sold into like slavery? He's not living a good life. And when she is a child, not long after she's regained her memories, she remembers that actually at that point in time, he's in the same town as her, and she's like, I'm gonna go save him. And she goes and saves him, which obviously isn't what happens in the main game. And instead of him becoming, I think in the main game he becomes like a thief or an assassin or something like that. Instead he becomes her butler, her like right-hand man. So his character development does change. So she also is like explains and tells him like what happens. There's a few times where it's like they have someone that they're truthful with and explain the situation, and he's hers in this. Is it? Yeah, it's him there. So he as a character is kind of developed a little differently to how he was in the game. There are some moments I liked it because it was like, I have to do this perfectly because I want the characters to become the best that they can be. Towards the beginning of the volume, she kind of does these really bad things, and she's like, okay, now I've wrapped up and I need to now disappear. And she kind of ambles off to another town, and she starts like trying to live a nice life there. Kind of got a bit of a cliffhanger at the end of the volume where she's kind of run into another one of her characters, and I'm not entirely clear. I get the feeling like the character isn't meant to be there, and she's confused. She's like, why is this character here? This is not where she's meant to be. And I feel like it's going to turn into like her setting the path correctly, or trying to set the path correctly for her faves. And I'm looking forward to it because she's so cute when she gets all blushy and like, oh my god, look who it is. Really enjoyed it. Can't remember when volume 2 comes out again. I think I have it on pre-order. If it's Villainess, if it's Villainess, I'll have it on pre-order. Yes, if you are interested in winning volume 1 of this, make sure to comment down below that you stan Villainesses, stan the Villainess, stan Villainesses, something like that. Our next series is I'm Villainess, so I'm Taming the Final Boss. I think the most notable thing about this series, it is complete at 3 volumes. An isekai, I mean, forget Villainess, an isekai being complete is just insane. Now, I do want to caveat that with, yes, the manga is complete at 3 volumes, but the light novel is ongoing. I'm not sure why the manga stopped at 3, very, very sad, so it's definitely going to be a light novel I will be reading. There is also an anime, and I think the anime also goes past where the manga stopped. So sad. I think because the manga like kind of does wrap up nicely in 3 volumes, this is also a really good one to recommend because it's nice and short and sweet. It gives you a nice sort of a introduction to the kind of sort of genre of Villainess. So a very common moment in Villainess isekai for them to regain their memories is, as I think I've said on a couple others, they're engaged to the crown prince or a prince or someone of very high noble persuasion, and they're at a ball of some variety or a dance or an event or graduation, whatever it is, and the prince breaks the engagement because he's become smitten with the main character of the Otome game or whatever. And there's usually a big crowd and everyone's like, oh my god, did you see what happened to her? Did you see what? Oh, isn't that embarrassing? I never quite understood that. Like, the guy is the one very aggressively shouting at this event, I'm gonna break up with you. It's like, what? Why turn on her? I don't get it. Is it because he's the prince? I'm not going to try and analyse that element right now. We're talking about the Villainess Isekai, and that is what happens here. So the main character regains their memory just as the prince is breaking up with them. So she kind of like is like, oh shit. So everyone's like, what's happening? And she's kind of like, oh shit, my memories, I've just remembered. She kind of ambles off at that point. And then she starts trying to remember moments from the game when she played it on Earth, and she kind of remembers that almost no matter what route she went down, the villainess always ended up dying in a really weird way. Crushed by a dragon, sacrifice, swords, fire, lots of weird ways. And she's like, which route did that not happen? And there is one route where she didn't die a really weird death, and that is like the secret hidden route. So down every route, it turns out that like a half-brother or brother of the prince, he's not on the cover of this one. This guy, turns out he's like a half-dragon beast of some kind, and most routes end with him going on a rampage and lots of people dying. Every time, including the villainess. The only route where that didn't happen is his. So she decides, well, I'm gonna go and romance the final boss, and then I won't die. Wahey! And yeah. However, he's not like this woman just turns up and she's like, let's get married, and he's like, no. Sensibly. So a lot of the series is like her trying to convince him and just like be around him and stuff like that. It's kind of, yeah, fun. There's lots of action, lots of drama, lots of fighting, nice swoon-worthy moments, and since it's a complete of 3 volumes, I think it's definitely a really good one to dive into. Look at that nice final cover. I've given this series an 8.67 out of 10, so this is definitely one of my higher rated ones. Nice and short and sweet, and I'm going to get some of the light novels as well. We are closing in. We only have a couple of series left. I have been talking for like an hour. I genuinely was like, this will be like 20 minutes max. I'm almost on an hour and I've still got 2 more series to talk about. So our next series is I was reincarnated as the villainess in an Otome game, but the boys love me anyway. And there are 3 volumes currently out for this series, and it is published by Tokyo Pop. I feel Tokyo Pop has like really upped their spine game recently, because I must say that is shocking. That is awful. What awful spines. And then you see some of the stuff they've been putting out recently, and they're super pretty, like Confessions of a Shy Baker, I think Puppy Love, Just Friends, I'm trying to remember some of the others, Cut Over Criteria or something like that, also looks really neat. Don't have that one yet though. And then you look at this and you're like, oh, I'm so glad you just did away from that, please, thank you. Again, reborn in an Otome game, except with this one, she again regains her memories when she is a child. The only difference is we kind of get a bit more story when she's a child. They're quite often, like, we know they regain their memories as a child, or we get a little bit of them as a child, and then it kind of fast forwards to when it's less weird for all the romance, I suppose. Or it kind of fast forwards to when the Otome game takes place, which is generally teenage years at high school, boarding school, whatever it is in the fantasy world. This one we kind of get a volume and a bit, or 2 volumes. I can't remember when they age up. Yeah, she kind of ages up like a couple of chapters from the end of volume 2. So we get a full volume as a child, and then most of volume 2 as a child as well. So on each of the covers we have a different love interest, and as always with these, she kind of like is so nice that they've all kind of fallen for her, and it's kind of sweet. Like, they're all like ridiculously head over heels, and she is so oblivious. Like, it's probably some of the worst case of obliviousness in all of them. Or actually no, My Next Life of the Villainess is pretty oblivious, but this one is like super oblivious. She has no idea in the slightest. Also in this story, especially as a child, she definitely puts to use her memories and knowledge of the Otome game to try and stop terrible things from happening. So there is an event pretty early on, like it's in with the first few chapters, so it's not huge spoilers, where one of the love interests, his mother, passes away from being attacked, being murdered when he's a child, and she manages to try and stop that so we can at least grow up with the mother. It was really fun, like, watching her try to, as a child, figure out a way to be able to stop it and keep everyone safe and that sort of thing. And I do enjoy it. There was probably a big questionable bit with one of the characters, one of the love interests. Is it this guy? I'm not sure if it's this guy. But basically, like, she's like young, 10ish, I want to say, and he like teaches her to ride horses, and he kind of falls for her aggressively and is like, "I'm gonna look after you when you get older and stuff, and it's more okay." And it's like, oh no, don't do that. No, please don't. This is a really slow releasing series, unfortunately. I think it's every year and a half we get one. So it's been a while since we had one, so I would hope one will come out soon-ish. Fingers crossed. Ooh, and according to my notes, there is a web novel available for this. So no physical, but there is a web novel. To be fair, most isekai start out or have web novels of some kind. My average rating for this was 7.67. The final Villainess series that I want to talk about is Accomplishments of a Duke's Daughter. Currently, I think there are 8 volumes out, but I am behind. I am missing volume 6 and 8, otherwise I would be up to date. I have 1, 5 and 7. Also volume 1 of the light novel, if you're interested in seeing the difference between the covers. I definitely feel often with light novels you get a lot more like stylistic compared to stylistic styles. Oh my god. There's a lot more lineage. Oh my god, someone tell me what word I'm trying to think of. This one, manga's always a bit more cartoony. Light novels always look a bit more serious. Still not what I think I was trying to say. I hope you understand. I've gotten Ben quite a few of those actually. I think he's missing 1 volume and then he might be up to date with the light novels. I don't think he started reading the light novels though, but he has been reading the manga. One of the reasons I wanted to talk about this one is most Villainess stuff does have quite a heavy focus on romance. And so far in what I've read of Accomplishments of a Duke's Daughter, it hasn't really been much romance. Now, admittedly, I have only read up to I think volume 3 or volume 4, but it's still like there were elements, but it wasn't like the focus like it was with the others. Once again, isekai'd into a game, isekai'd into the moment when she's like the engagement's being dissolved. Oh, not quite. So like she was caught bullying the main character from the game, and she's like, it's like the accusation. Everyone's like, we know you did it, admit it, and she gets kicked out of school and stuff, and she's like, oh shit, what do I do? Turns out her father's kingdom, what's the word, fiefdom is failing, and he kind of gives her a bit, and he's like, oh, you can do what you want with it, just go away, because you've caused us enough embarrassment. Because of course it was like a crown prince or something that was defending the maiden, as always. But what this series has a lot of focus on is she's bringing over knowledge from her past life on like politics, governance, economy, and it like she's trying to bring this failing fiefdom back up by introducing things like banks, a way of marketing different goods. Like there's like a village she goes to and they're like, oh, we only produce one thing and no one wants it because it's terrible, and she's like, what is it? And it's like cacao beans, and she's like, I know something we can do with those, and helps them produce chocolate, and the village then thrives. It's got such a heavy focus on like improving the world with stuff that she knows from her life on Earth. It's definitely, compared to all the other Villainess series, less focused on romance. Not to say there isn't any, because there was like some blossomings, I believe, at the end of volume 3, I think, but it's definitely a different kind of Villainess series. So if like you've listened to me talk about all these like sappy love stuff and you're like, it's not my kind of thing, then I would pretty much say try this one. This one is definitely more, if you're into like politics and stuff, try this one, please. Also, I think this series is a seinen, whereas the rest have been shoujo with a few josei series, but this one is a seinen series. On average, so far I've rated this series at 7.65 out of 10. And there we have it. 8 different Villainess isekai series for you to give a go at home if you're so interested. I do hope you enjoyed it. Do remember, if you're interested in the giveaway, to comment down below that you stan the Villainesses, or stan the Villainess, something along those lines. I'll know what you mean if you give it a good go. I can't believe how much I love this genre so much. Like, and I also love that they put Villainess in the title so often. It just makes it so much easier to be able to figure out which ones are Villainess titles. I just Control F Villainess. Ah, there we go. And seeing how many Villainess titles there are digitally or on like webtoons or manta or stuff like that, and I can't wait. I want them all to get prints, please. I always want to say it's like my guilty pleasure genre, but like I don't feel guilty at all in the slightest. I love it so much, and so far I've been glad to see that I'm not alone in that. I know a lot of people are also interested in these gorgeous series. If you haven't already, don't forget to give this video a like, comment and subscribe. So much more isekai content coming. I have 4 more of these, and I'm also going to be posting about stuff that I'm reading and other types of isekai series on my social medias, so do be sure to follow me. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. There will be some repeats, especially at the beginning when you reuse some content, but I'm building a stack of to read. I have so much isekai I've gotten behind on, so I'm going to try and catch up on everything. If you are interested in joining in on Isekai Month, I would love to see what you get up to. Videos, pictures, just stuff, I don't know. Use hashtag Isekai Month or tag me, or both. Happy with either. I would love to see lots of Isekai love. Lots and lots and lots, please. Also, if you end up reading any of the series I recommend and you love it or hate it, do let me know. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Just please don't be mean. Otherwise, I've been rambling on quite a while. Thanks so much for joining me. I will see you next week for more Isekai Rex. Bye!